And I don't mean this in a negative way. It kind of reflects in our stock markets, quarter to quarter, profitability, company blowing money. As part of this blowing money is when you get an open AI.
When it comes to businesses, transforming business processes, just speeding things up dramatically, eliminating a lot of redundant, low quality work, I think that is pretty much here and now.
It is not a shift from typewriter to word processor. It's a shift from the word processor now writing the novel for you.
Every single day, there's a new AI tool that's making waves. And because of that, entire industries are changing. So how does one stay ahead of the curve with this context, right? So let's find out from some of our speakers. Our first panelist is Mukesh Bansal. He's a first-generation tech entrepreneur and founder of Myntra and CureFit. He's also an active investor in the tech startup scene and the author of 2 books. Also, did I mention he's a podcast host? Talk about an all-rounder. Speaker 2, we have Mr. Varun Dua, founder and CEO of aikg with us. He is a pioneer in the insurance sector. Varun's work has actually made insurance easy and straightforward for millions of Indians. And moderating this panel discussion is Ms. Chandra R. Srikanth, who is the Deputy Executive Editor at Money Control. With a remarkable 15-year career across various media platforms, Chandra brings with her a wealth of knowledge and experience. May I please invite on stage Mr. Mukesh Bansal, Mr. Varun Dua, and Ms. Chandra R. Srikanth.
Thank you so much for talking to us, Mukesh and Varun. Tell me about your own experiences with AI. Beyond ChatGPT, how do you use AI every day? Have you tried creating something on AI? And where is the human intelligence going to come, amidst all this artificial intelligence?
Last 12 months, I'm actually looking at AI very closely and been reading lots of things. And I think last 6 months or so, I've gone from okay, this looks very interesting and this big mega trend to from it's oh shit, this is probably going to change the world in ways we cannot imagine. I think when it comes to businesses, transforming business processes, just speeding things up dramatically, eliminating a lot of redundant, low quality work, I think that is pretty much here and now. We should see, I think, a lot of transformation, but probably not in a hurry. I also think next 12 to 18 months are probably going to be very slow because it says, that hype has overtaken the reality. So now the reality needs to catch up to the hype and some people will be disillusioned for a while.
If you try to understand it at a fundamental level, I read this somewhere, this is not my quote, that it is not a shift from typewriter to word processor. It's a shift from the word processor now writing the novel for you. So it's not a tool which is improving. Technology was always a tool to make us efficient. Now you need to look at it fundamentally as not a tool, but something that has started to collaborate. But we've tried to actually conduct a meeting with it as a participant.
Oh, within AI chatbot as a participant?
In the meeting. It was clunky. It wasn't working very well. But yeah, it can take notes. It can tell you that this document needs to be surfaced, make that document for you. All of that can happen, right? So we don't know how it's going to happen, but I do foresee that in maybe a year or two, there will be a lot of companies that will evolve to actually using that. That's what I meant by a collaborator. Will have that. You imagine that as an employee. So I do believe that while great amount of change may be some time away, it's important for all of us to adapt. Otherwise, it's just jobs, companies, business theses are all going to go out of the window very, very quickly. Some companies, I think, will just cease to exist just because that one thing can do everything that company does.
2-3 hours, do you watch YouTube videos? Do you watch
So
interviews?
I'll share my process,
Do you read research papers?
Yeah. So there are a lot of very popular books like AI 2041, Genius Makers, this, that, Coming Wave, and so on. So first batch, I just went through all these popular books. Then from that, I have now moved to textbooks. I'm even trying to just fiddle with some codes. It's very painful for me, but I'm learning that. Spending a lot of time with the engineers, and now we have a small team, so these people go through papers every day. There are at least 10 to 15 papers are being published, so I'm trying to at least follow some of it. It's still a lot of it goes above my head, but trying to keep pace.
anything else?
Courses from deep learning. So Andrew Ng, he's
Andrew
been a
Ng.
pioneer. Like a lot of his courses are amazing. It's and from very beginner level, so you can make progress slowly.
Great. Varun, how do you cope? Mukesh's way to grow and cope in an AI world is to just learn and learn and learn. But how do you do it? And is it also true that, people who are very good at, say, math and data science have an edge when it comes to learning about AI? Can non-math, non-data science people also learn as much about AI?
So I'm not as disciplined as him. I don't read many books and go through many courses. Neither am I an engineer. I've never programmed. Someone said, I think the CEO of NVIDIA said, natural language is the best programming language. There is no language. You have to tell the computer what to do. There is no better way to express this than exactly tell it what you mean in the most natural language that you can. So I think at least the way I have learned a little more about it, of course you read some blogs, you come across something, you watch some video and so on and so forth. But at least personally I'm excited to just write up a GPT and say, hey, this is what I do. I want an idea on car insurance. I want to do this. I want to automate a meeting. And actually, I program that GPT to see what can it do. It's just pure curiosity because I'm like, this is fascinating. I cannot imagine this could happen. I have dumped a file in it and say, give me growth rates for all insurance companies for the last 20 years and tell me what will happen if this happens, if that happens. And it just spews out answers like nobody's business. So I think to me, the best learning has been just being curious.
So I guess ChatGPT by far is the most popular tool now. But Mukesh, apart from spending time learning, your newest startup is also AI, which you're not talking about. Tell us about that.
I think we're just figuring things out. I said like right now it's you can
You've-
call it
you've,
a startup. We have 8 to 10 people. I've told them just study, just learn, and every week share.
You've come up with a name for the startup.
No, not yet. Yeah, it's so
Still
it's just,
deciding.
yeah, I don't know if you can even call it a startup. Just hiring people saying, okay, just study and just keep sharing what you're learning. I don't know if
But
that's.
we hear you've already raised money for this also.
No, it's very early. I think last 12 to 18 months I've been part of this venture studio. And last year we did start one company that was announced publicly. Mohit Gupta, he's leading that. That was in the kind of premium fashion space. Second one, I think we are just kicking the tires right now and trying to figure something out.
Right. One question that everyone has is there's so much of excitement in Silicon Valley on AI, right? Every day you see some exciting company. Where is India in the global AI race?
Probably, so I think we have a lot of capabilities. It turns out even in semiconductor, while we don't have semiconductor factories in India, somewhere like 15 to 20% of all semiconductor engineers in the world are in India. Lot of the data work for AI is happening from India. I think we have the engineering capabilities, and all the large IT services companies are retraining their workforce to come up to speed or whatever happening in Gen AI. So that way, I think from know-how point of view, I think we are very well positioned. But these foundation models, they require multi-billion dollars of investment. Again, things getting obsolete. I think we are far behind. I think, obviously Ola, Kritrim and Sarvam are doing something, but they're probably feels like too little. And, just like, what happened with the other platforms. Today we are also dependent on all these, Western platforms, from Google to all the Meta products to Netflix to and so on. So there is a danger of India not having both enough protection and enough investment profile for this long-term research-oriented investment, which could be a challenge for the country. So I hope it changes next 12 to 24 months. But right now I'm not seeing. I think we are again one more cycle of getting too dependent on all these foundational technologies from the West.
I don't think we still dream big, as a country. If I can just take the argument somewhere else, we are much happier with incremental innovation versus saying, okay, I'm going to bet the farm, I'm going to bet something like a couple of $1 billion on some new technology because I can see it happening, whether it's chips, whether it's AI, bunch of these things. It kind of also reflects in our, and I don't mean this in a negative way, it kind of reflects in our stock markets, quarter to quarter, profitability, company blowing money. As part of the blowing money is when you get an OpenAI. There's a good and there's a bad. Is when people are willing to fund, or the ecosystem is willing to fund wild bets, completely wild bets, is when India will get ahead. I don't think
We're still not there, basically.
no, I don't think we can take, otherwise, and I don't think it's not even about India, I think it's cultural. Nothing comes out of Europe also. Every piece of technology that has changed our life has come from one country.
China also doesn't necessarily produce anything new, but they have enough protection. So look, even they're already
they are good at
open
reverse engineering.
Right, and they do the reverse engineering, and they're able to also support the fundamental research also now. So at least extremely fast copying. Like they're, look in the EV space. I mean, Tesla pioneered everything, but Chinese companies today technology-wise way ahead of that. If US does not put 100% duty, Chinese companies will just take over entire US market. So I think that's something India can learn from. We want to be like China.
India to be more protectionist like China.
I mean, they have an insane amount of protection, right? I mean, the foreign companies can't do beyond a point. And I mean, that they have found the right balance, which something India can also think about.
But I don't know, I think this, somewhere I think India's already made that choice that it is not China. So I was not going there. Somewhere we'll have to compete in relatively more free markets, if I can, or relatively more global markets. So somewhere or the other, I think we'll be one of the countries in the forefront in terms of utilization and use cases, and great companies being built on top of use cases. But the foundational stuff, tough to say now whether we can catch up.
Thoda from AI to your own journey as entrepreneurs. Mukesh, you're now on your fourth venture, apart from being an angel investor. And I sometimes wonder, why do you kind of keep starting up again and again and again? Because if I made the kind of exits you made after Myntra, I would have, bought some house in Mysore and retired. So what keeps you going?
I'm still very young, why do you want me to retire? I think that India's story is getting more and more excited. I think today is a better time than ever before to be an entrepreneur. The whole ecosystem has opened up. The economy is at a point now where the amount of, let's say, GDP creation that will happen over the last 20 years, it's like 4 or 5 times what has happened in the entire history of India put together. So I think one is that attraction. Second, also, I just like the challenge of building things, just building things, learning new things. Otherwise, what else to do? I think, everything else is quite boring, and, you can do it for a few days or a few weeks. But I think the real joy, at least, I feel, just comes in, just learning and building things. And as long as I have energy and the environment supports that, I'll keep at it. But it is very hard also. I'm realizing that,
What about you, Varun? This is your second, right? Cover Fox and then Acco.
So actually, I've done only one startup. It's just misconstrued by the media that I've done many startups. So I have done one thing after the other in insurance, and everything has failed. So this is the final one. Hopefully this one doesn't go down. No, I've spent some time in insurance. I did technology for insurance companies. I did a broker business selling other people's products, and now we are manufacturing our own products. So for me, legally 2-3 companies happened because they were different business model, different regulations and all of that. But essentially...
But are there days when you feel like, I could have just worked in some Tata AIG instead of doing Acco Insurance?
No. I think I would have been depressed. And not because that company is bad. It's just that, like Mukesh said, there is... You don't feel fulfilled. Like I think every entrepreneur who gets out and does something there is generally basically looking for some fulfillment. Because beyond a point, it stops becoming about money or a house or whatever it is. Maybe initially it is. Otherwise, half the people shouldn't be working as hard. They're working. They've already made the money. So it's just, it makes you want to get up in the morning, and you're always excited. When you're brushing also, you're thinking, oh, ye bhi ho sakta hai, wo bhi ho sakta hai. So I think that joy is what keeps you going versus saying, okay, I can have an easier life.
On that note, thank you both very much, Mukesh and Varun. That was such an amazing session. Huge round of applause for these entrepreneurs. Thank you very much, and thank you for being a wonderful audience. Thank you.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing. Please read the risk disclosure documents carefully before investing in equity shares, derivatives, mutual fund, and or other instruments traded on the stock exchanges.